Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. We want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Welcome to a new episode of Hacks and Hobbies. In this episode, I get to speak with Jordan Gross. He's an executive coach at Cloud9 Living, a 2-time author, 3-time founder, and a TEDx speaker. I met him through LinkedIn and he reached out to me, and he is on a amazing journey, looking to be on several podcasts in the next couple of months. And I'm super excited to bring him on the Hacks and Hobbies podcast here and learn his journey on how he discovered this newfound love for Cloud9 Living. So Jordan, thanks so much for making the time and coming onto the podcast.
Hey, Junaid, thank you for being willing to have me on Hacks and Hobbies. I know, like you just mentioned, I reached out of the blue on LinkedIn, trying to go on 90 podcasts in 90 days and show people the true grit and resilience and determination and really the human connection and the relationship building it takes to start something from the ground up and share the message. So glad that you were willing to take the time, and I can't wait to share with your Hacks and Hobbies audience.
Absolutely, my friend. What's really cool is I am all about stories, and I love the stories of journeys, and I've been editing my episodes and been listening to, all the episodes that I've recorded in the past few months. And it's just so refreshing when you hear a story and the conversation that's going through, and everything in your mind is like click, 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 click. Whoa, boom, right? And so when we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago, it was really great. Cloud9, I mean, I've been listening to a song named Cloud9 since 1980s, right? And now you've got Cloud9 Living. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll come into, Cloud9 Living.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll try to do a little bit of the short version because even though I'm only 24 years old, I have had a lot of experiences in my life because I'm somebody who, for the last couple of years, I have really dove into exploring my curiosities and embarking on different experiences because I am a person who I fear the what if so much more than I actually fear the what, the actual doing of something. So I've done a good amount, but basically, starting in high school, I was actually more so of a guy who was going through the motions. I was a good student and I was a good soccer player. So the next logical step was to go to a good school. And I went to a good school, and the next logical step was to keep getting good grades and get good internships. I got good internships, so the next logical step was to get a good job where I would make a lot of money and have a stable life. But this was the first time where I kind of deviated from the norm a little bit. I didn't really like the finance world. I didn't really love my consulting job. So I ended up pursuing a master's degree because I had started an Alzheimer's awareness group when I was at school at Northwestern. So I wanted to I got my master's in management studies so I can learn more so how to lead people and build and grow a business. So during that year, Junaid, I had some free time to, again, explore my curiosities and dive into new experiences and opportunities. And I did some freelance work, added value to different startup companies in the Chicago area. So I was doing that. And I realized that it was in the food world. I was working with different food delivery companies, and I decided, hey, I should, follow a passion of mine and get started in the food world. So after this master's program, I actually went into a more corporate role in a leadership position at a restaurant group. And very quickly, I realized that I sort of went back to the old ways of going through the motions again. It was a job that was stable, steady, had salary, whatever it was. And I ultimately had to learn the hard way that passion and hobby can also often be separated. So there I was, a couple of months in, I decided I had to figure out what I needed to do next. And I quit without a real plan. And basically, I wrote a book, and for the last year and a half, I've been, talking about that book through speeches, through podcasts. I've been coaching one-on-one,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with writing. Writing is my main hobby right now, and I'm continuing to write and share messages of positivity and optimism and happiness, and really finding meaning and purpose throughout a life through following your curiosities, just like I did.
Hmm.
Uh, because so often we hear, we have to find our passions, but that's very difficult to do. So really exploring curiosities and immersing yourself in different things is a way to lead yourself onto that journey.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's very important when you go out there and explore your curiosity,
Yeah.
because that's super important. And especially in this day and age when anything is possible, right? Back in the days, you had very limited access to the internet, you had limited access to basically a lot of things. And all you knew is what you learned from school or you learned from your town and other people
Yeah.
that you had physical contact with. But with this technology these days, with podcast and radio, you have so much opportunity to pick any topic and you can go dive deep as you want in that area of expertise or area of knowledge. And it's just so fascinating. And I think one of the things that I could think of right now that's
Yeah.
just off topic is
Mm,
it was Patton Oswalt. He's an actor,
Patton Oswalt. Yeah.
right? Patton Oswalt, and he had this stand-up bit, and he's like, I'm all about Marvel, but now I have a daughter, and she's all about ponies, and he goes on a rant about ponies, My Little Ponies, about all the different types. I'm like, oh my god, he definitely had to have seen all of these episodes, obviously, and then look more into detail to know about the different types of ponies and what they are. And I was like, wow, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to somebody yesterday who he mentioned, when he had a daughter, she wanted to get into cheerleading, and he didn't know one thing about cheerleading. But after, because of how interested his daughter was, somebody who he loved and cherished, he wanted to have a commonality with her. So he
Yeah,
did everything he could to learn as much as he possibly could understand about the cheerleading world. So yeah, it's the same kind of thing. If there are people out there who you love who are interested in something, then it motivates you more so to love and explore that thing as well.
absolutely. So after you went through the different motions of, okay,
Yeah.
I'm really done, I'm bored with this stuff, I don't want to do this anymore, and then you became your writer, and then that when you published your first book?
Yeah. So I self published my first book in January 2018.
Hmm.
That book was called Getting Comfy, Your Morning Guide to Daily Happiness.
Yeah.
And key is a 5-step morning routine to sort of wake up and take control of the day, lead the day on the right note, start the day on the right note. And that stands for calm, openness, movement, funny, and you.
Yeah.
So that's what Comfy is. And then it really turned more so into a preparedness tool for people in order to get ready for any situation that's stress or anxiety inducing. If you focus on these three things
Yeah.
as a pregame ritual, then whether it's a public speaking event, a sales call, a big meeting, a big presentation, you're going to head into anything that feels outside of the comfy zone, feeling way more comfy about it.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that. So I'll have to look more into that book because I was just had a conversation earlier this year with Michael J. Lyons, who has a book on setting yourself free, and
Mm,
how, and you're saying, you can, this is your daily guide to happiness.
yeah,
Well, if you're making those decisions for yourself
yeah.
and you have you're tired of that 9 to 5 deal, not that you don't like spending the time and working 9 to 5, but what you're doing is not really qualitative, it's not bringing joy to you,
Mm,
then you know what you need to do to get to that next step. Because a lot of times we're we daydream a lot, right?
Hmm.
Human beings is probably the only species that daydreams. Maybe lions do too, but yeah, it's really good. That's awesome.
Yeah,
You got
yeah,
to, write that book and get it out there to the world.
yeah. And it actually, there's the comfy word has more than one meaning. It's not just
Hmm.
the acronym. I just gave my first TEDx talk last month, and I
Congratulations.
to a couple different components, right? So
Mhm.
again, just like, you got to find your passion in the self-help world. It's pretty authoritative at times in saying like, here's what you have to do. Here's what's proven to work. So go out and
Mhm.
do it. But it's
Yeah.
hard to do that Nike slogan sometimes of just doing it. Like
Hmm.
there has to be a how, there has to be some sort of implementation process.
Yeah.
So getting comfy is not only, the 5-step implementation, but it's also a couple different steps. So the talk basically said, in order to get comfy, first you have to get comfy in your own skin. That's step
Mhm.
number one. You need to do what it takes in order to realize who you are, have that self awareness, have that self care in order
Mhm.
to really better come from a place of who you can and are meant to be.
Yeah.
So the second piece is actually once you've gotten comfy with who you are, the only next logical step for growth is to then get deliberately uncomfy. So
Yeah.
that's everybody says, progress is at the edge of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
So you have to step outside of your comfort zone and do things that scare you, do things that you're afraid of. But
Yeah.
then the last bit is the how. How do you do things that scare you? It's cool to say you want to jump out of an airplane, but it takes courage. It's hard to actually go and do it.
Hmm.
So that is the last bit of the talk, which was getting comfy with the uncomfy. And that's where the 5 steps come in, where in any situation in life, you can feel a little bit more safe, more confident if you do those calm, openness, movement, funny, and you techniques.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So now that we've gone through a little bit of your journey of what inspired you
Yeah.
to write that book, what inspired, what different experiences you had as a professional worker or a professional employee, and then going into, becoming a writer and doing things that bring you joy and passion. What's the next step? I mean, how are you bringing this concept to the rest of the world? I mean, you've got the book out, you've got the TEDx talk. What's the next step?
So the next step is on a similar note. It's about achieving daily happiness. It's about
Mhm.
achieving a life's purpose. It's just a little bit of a new concept. It's got a couple different tiers to it, but basically the story here is I was riding in an Uber down the East River in New York City, and I always want to make people's day not feel robotic, right? So if you
Mhm.
think about an Uber driver, if people are just sitting in their back seat, they're just sitting in silence all day long. So I'm
Yep.
somebody who always talks to the Uber driver, and we're driving down the river, and I see this boat, and the boat was called Cloud 9.
Mhm.
And I just said to my Uber driver, "Hey man, what does Cloud 9 mean to you?" And the conversation we had was magical. He started talking about the day he got married. He started talking about the day he had his children. He talked about his relationship with his parents. He talked about the day he was able to come to America. He
Mhm.
talked about the day he was able to make enough money to go back to his home country. He just talked about so many different things, and it got my mind racing about, wow, like Cloud 9 is this momentous occasion where it's a memory that you'll always have. It's a feeling that is almost inexplicable. But how can I explain it to people? How can I share it with people? So I actually outlined a book,
Mhm.
and the book that I'll be coming out with soon is called The Journey to Cloud 9.
Nice.
And my hobby or my passion or what I want to keep doing in the future is I want to write fictional stories that have self-help, personal growth, and personal development principles lodged within them.
Mhm.
Why I want to do that is because I think so often in this self-help world, the stigma associated with it is that there is an authoritative voice, just like I mentioned before, who says you just have to do this. I've done my research on it. There's proven scientific evidence about it, and you just have to do it. You just have to wake up early. You just have to get outside your comfort zone. but
Mhm.
I would rather create a story that shows people, here's what happens if you do, for example, get outside your comfort zone. Here's what happens if you don't. And then it's up to the reader to choose what they're going to do with their lives after. So that's why I want to write fiction now. Is that I want people to resonate more with the characters. I want them to get into it. I want them to laugh. I want them to smile. I want them to cry when they're going through sort of this personal development journey on their own, rather
Mhm.
than just read an often dry self-help book where they're saying, well, I don't know if this necessarily works for me,
Sure.
or something like that. So
Right.
that's what I've been doing, and the way that I'm sort of also differentiating from a lot of other maybe writers or researchers or business people is I'm taking a nonfiction approach to this, in where I am interviewing people, old and young, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic statuses, different professions, different races, genders, ethnicities, and I am asking them what Cloud9 means to them. And there's
Nice.
so many different interpretations. So I'm gathering all of these stories, and I'm realizing that there are these, Uber driver type stories where people talk about their marriage or their kids or a career ambition. And those are like the Cloud9 life experiences that we could have, these transformative moments. But then other people talk about their daily run. They talk about their daily meal with a friend, with their family. So what I've really understood is that Cloud9 moments can come at any time. And
Yeah.
the big goal is to have a Cloud9 moment every day, so that there's always something to look forward to.
Hmm.
It's either in the morning, so that the morning was great, and the rest of the day, even if it's bad, you had this wonderful, unbelievable morning. Or it can come in the middle of the day, or it can come at the end of the day. So you're saying, even if it's a terrible day, there's still this meal, right, for dinner
Yeah.
at p.m. where I get to have this Cloud9 euphoric moment. So this is what I'm learning, and I've been able to relay that message by creating a story, and having a character who goes through these different experiences. And that's the journey to Cloud9. And overall, it's this Cloud9 living feeling I want to spread to people.
That's super cool, man. I've got more information out than the last time we spoke, and what's really cool, it's almost like a, what should I say? It's almost like a high,
Yeah,
but it's a euphoric state. It's a high which helps you become a better person,
yeah,
helps you see the bright side and not be like the grass is greener on the other side, but no, the grass is green right here
yeah.
because I made it happen, or I'm making it happen every day.
It's a way also, Junaid, to surround yourself with positivity, right?
Hmm.
So I often, I think that in society, we're so quick to turn on CNN, right? Because we want to be updated about the world. But CNN is often filled with tragedy and devastation, right? So if we're filling our minds with tragedy and devastation, even though it seems like we're informed, then it's going to be difficult to have an optimistic outlook on what's going on in the world. So
Yeah.
I say to replace that CNN with a PNN, a positive news network, where you are able to go somewhere and have these moments of people experiencing true bliss. So
Mhm.
that's why what I'm doing with Cloud9 Living and the Journey to Cloud9 website is I'm just sharing stories, 90 seconds, where people are talking about basically their Cloud9 moments on a daily basis and throughout their entire lives. And it's a way to just come to this piece of media and know that there are great things happening in this world, and people are experiencing great things, and it's not only feasible, but it's also inevitable that you're going to experience a Cloud9 feeling throughout your life. So that's really also what I'm trying to share.
Nice. Very, very awesome. Now, so some cool parts. I mean, we talked about, what is a Cloud9 feeling
Yeah.
and how you're creating this and sharing the stories. What's really cool, Cloud9 has a lot of, what's that? It's been used for a long time in a lot of different area. It's been used in books, it's been used in comics,
Hmm.
and company names are named after Cloud9, as well as a film and television. There's albums. There's at least 5 to 7 albums and at least 20 plus songs on Cloud9.
Yeah.
And I've never heard any of these songs except the one that I mentioned to you, by Brian Adams in
Yeah.
his '98 album, um,
Yeah.
which was one of my favorites. And another one that popped up to me was a Cloud9 was the name of a superstore in it was this TV show called was Superstore was the name of the TV show. It's a hilarious TV show, and I think Cloud9 was the name of the store, the fictional store that they had created. And again, that euphoric state, right? So people were like, oh, I'm going to Cloud9. Like, oh, take me with you. So now they're here to the super cloud and they can purchase whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that. And two quick funny stories. So one, my buddy told me yesterday that he was listening to his Spotify and he heard this song by a guy named Kygo who's got this very upbeat, good energy, good vibes kind of music, and he's actually one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my favorite songs from Kygo all on the same album.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the album name is Cloud Nine. So funny coincidence there. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that just very much relates to what you were saying with
Mm-hmm.
it's like the superstore or Cloud9 or these euphoric moments is that same boat that I drove past with my Uber driver.
Yeah.
I run past it on the East River like almost every day now in New York City. So
Nice.
the other day, I ran past it and I realized that not only was there a boat there that said Cloud9, but there were also some flyers that said
Oh.
Cloud9 charters. So I went over to the flyer and I started reading about it and I saw there was a phone number. So I
Mhm.
called up the Cloud9 charters and I
Yeah.
said, hey, this is going to be probably the strangest phone call you get today.
Yeah.
But this boat has inspired a website, a book for me, like all this great stuff, these conversations that I'm having, these podcast conversations that I'm having. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about like the origin of this name, Cloud9, why
Mhm.
the boat's called that. And she said the boat was a charter boat for Cloud9 occasions, for weddings, for
Mm.
birthdays, for bar mitzvahs, for communions, baptisms.
Wow.
So again, it's just this crazy, so many crazy coincidences and things have been happening with the whole
Mhm.
Cloud9 thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's all at the end of the day about the optimism that comes along with it and the purposeful and meaningful and fulfilling life
Nice.
events that come along with the Cloud9.
Very, very cool. Apparently, Cloud9 is also a fictional character, a teenage superheroine appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics.
Wow,
So, you know,
I didn't know that one.
yeah, that's there's a ton of info on Cloud9. I'm blown away. Actually, so I started looking up Cloud9 and then the first one came up was cloud9care.com, which is I don't know if you've seen it, but they're a medical agency that helps with pregnancies and whatnot, because after all, having a child born is absolutely a Cloud9 moment.
Yes. Yeah, I get that so much. I don't have any kids yet, but I can
Yeah.
already imagine.
And what's crazy is that this company is based out in India. So all these services, maternity, pediatrics, and gynecology, they're all in India.
Uh-huh.
So it's pretty neat. Cloud9 has so many notations. I love it, man. I'm looking forward to your journey and bringing Cloud9 living to the world and learning more of the Cloud9 stories that you're going to share on the site.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that.
Cool, man. So at this point, I want to ask some questions that I ask all of my guests.
Love it.
Awesome. And you mentioned, one of your hobbies is writing, and that's something that you want to continue on. Is there a hobby that you wish you got into but never got a chance?
Yeah. A hobby that I wish I got into that I never got a chance. It's a good question. I'm gonna go with building websites. I
Mm.
wish I got more into like computer programming or code,
Mm-hmm.
or just, playing around on like I just built my Squarespace site by myself, well, with help of my good friend Danny, but
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to use it too. But I
Sure.
really wish that it was something that I enjoyed, because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's such a valuable tool and something to use in every component of life, right? Whether it's just business or pure enjoyment or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I really wish I learned how to build more websites.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, what's funny is I interviewed another friend of mine, and he said, I really didn't want to get into marketing starting out. I just wanted to be behind the scenes guy, building websites, building software.
Yeah.
But then later on in life, after a few, 5, 6 years, he's like, I really like marketing. I like talking to people and learning their stories and talking about what I'm passionate about. And what's cool about that is, a lot of people growing up, depending on the environment, are either, introverts or extroverts.
Mhm.
And you'll see the type of things that they love to do. But then over time, as you grow older, your mind, matures, you suddenly want to be a different person,
Yeah.
or you want to be in a different boat doing different things or looking things from a different angle altogether. And it's really fascinating. Absolutely.
Yep. 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 Totally.
Cool, man. So next question,
Yeah.
what is your favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite movie is Remember the Titans, and
Mm,
my favorite TV show of all time is Breaking Bad.
nice.
Yeah.
Good choices. Good
Yeah.
choices. I think the Titans ones was really good.
Yeah. I love that movie. Gives you all the right feels.
Oh, exactly. It's a feeling movie. All right. Who would be your superhero? And there's a lot of superheroes going around these days. So what would you pick?
My favorite superhero, I actually love The Incredibles,
Mm-hmm.
that movie, The Incredibles.
Oh, yeah.
I like Dash's superpower, being able
Dash.
to be super fast and
Mm-hmm.
go anywhere you want, nobody can catch you, because if you're that fast,
Mm-hmm.
right, then you almost get a little bit of the invisibility power too.
Yeah.
You're going so quickly, nobody can see you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you get two superpowers with one.
Yep. Just like the Flash and
Yeah.
Quicksilver and
Dash.
Sonic. Awesome. All right. Okay. This last one. If you were a board game,
Mhm.
what would it be?
Oh, Scrabble. Easy.
Nice.
I
Easy
love
one.
words. Love words. I love putting words together, and you have to play with another person. So I love being with another person,
There
and then
you
also
go.
just a little. There's collaboration involved too,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. You're working together to form words.
Together, yeah, exactly.
What's crazy is most board games are multiplayer. You can't really play a board game by yourself
Yeah, yeah,
because then you'd be truly bored.
right. But I also like it because it's not a board game where you're playing with another player and it's purely competitive.
Yeah, totally
Scrabble,
get it.
you are sort of dependent on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think
Nice,
Scrabble's a great one for me.
cool, man. You did mention that you've got the Cloud9 website coming out. Where can my audience find you and learn more about your journey and
Yeah.
what you're working
So
on?
the website's out and it's up and running. Journey to cloud9.com, all spelled out, journey to cloud nine.com. And
Mm-hmm.
on there, sign up for the email list and you'll receive every Tuesday and Thursday a 90-second video, a daily dose of happiness of somebody, a high performer or an author, a writer, a speaker, actors, professional athletes, and then just, also everyday people who
Nice.
are telling their Cloud9 stories.
That's
So
so cool.
to cloud9.com, anything and everything you would ever want to know about myself and people living their lives on Cloud9 is on that website.
Perfect, man. That's awesome. Well, I truly appreciate your time, and I wish you great success in your journey to bring Cloud9 living to all of us here in the world.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Junaid. Again, thank you so much for the time. And this was awesome. I'm sure we'll be chatting again.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on the website hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.